Can you hear me, guys? Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. I can't believe I've been talking all the time and there has been no sound. Can you guys hear me on yes or no in the chat? Any sound? No sound? Still no sound. What? You guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is this better? Now it's good? All right, cool. My bad. Sorry about that. I didn't even know you guys weren't hearing me. So do I need to start over the entire stream? Do I need to start over everything that I was talking about before? Because I assumed that everyone was hearing me from the beginning. Yeah? So you weren't hearing me before, so I need to repeat everything from the beginning. Could someone confirm? Do I need to repeat everything I talked about from the beginning? Man, that was crazy. All right, guys. Okay. So interestingly enough, this morning the update is on Brian Mbeumo. As we were speaking, I have to give you guys, bro. I swore that you guys were hearing me. Because I could see the volume thing bumping on the microphone video audioalizer. So, okay. Let's talk about Brandon Mbeumo to start things off. As I will inform you guys, like I told you guys last week, Brandon Mbeumo deal should be a deal somewhere in the region of 65 million pounds. The 63 million pound deal was not really accepted, but it was clear from 2 weeks ago it would take somewhere in the region of 65 to 70 million pounds to secure the deal of the player. I told you guys in advance. Unfortunately, Man United tried to, get a little bit under that, and the bid was rejected late Friday evening when everyone thought it was expected after Man United had made a booking for the player's medical, as they also thought that the bid would have been clearly accepted, but it has not been. There are reports that Man United and Brentford have been locked in talks all weekend, and a deal is nearing on the horizon. There are reports that it possibly could be done by Tuesday morning. So hopefully, yeah, bro. I realized, I apologize. I didn't realize I didn't have sound for 14 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I told everyone, the 63 million thing, that was never really going to happen. Now I am clear that with the third bid that is coming in, it is supposed to be guaranteed 65 million with 5 million in not so easily achievable add-ons. That will take the deal around 70 million pounds. So you're going to see this. Let's see how it goes. I would say, you know, let's wait and see, So that on one side, that's the bad news. The good news is that with all this difficulty with Brian and Bremo, Man United have been talking steadily with Victor Gyokeres and his entourage and have been given a green light as the player personal wages and personal effects with the club in probability of signing has been cleared and said to be not a problem. It's agreeable. So Man United are now going to make another approach to Sporting Lisbon for the striker, and it might even be possible that this deal can happen quicker than anyone else expected. I, however, was expecting it to be sometime to the end of the window due to the fact that we don't have Champions League and there's a lot of interest from likes of Arsenal as well as Liverpool, who has recently joined the race for the player. But there are reports that the player did reject the advances of Liverpool as he is focusing on the talks that he was currently having, which has said to be with Man United. It's going to be interesting to see if this deal happens this week, but I can tell you, or what I would say is, I would say the highest probability is that we have one of either deals done by Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and then hopefully the other will not be too far to follow. If we need to support this manager, I would think and hope that we would try to have our players in before the second week of July. Now, interestingly enough, there are some talks that Manchester United might be turning towards Rafael Leao as an option if all else fails with the third bid for Brian Umbremo. In my honest opinion, I don't know if that's going to be a good idea. I do rate Rafael Leao, but the Premier League is not as slow as the Italian league, and I don't know if Rafael Leao is actually a better option than Brian Umbremo. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, But in all fairness, I think Rafael Leao is a decent player, but Brian Mbeumo is certainly an exciting option that has done it in the Premier League proven and been very consistent at it. Now, you can't see Leao. Well, the reports are that this is a possibility right now. Now, interestingly enough, JJ Gabriel, guys, Hayden Bro and I have been talking about this guy for weeks upon weeks. I always said to everyone that JJ Gabriel is never going to leave Manchester United. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's been chased by Barcelona, by Bayern Munich, by Juventus, by Real Madrid, by Atletico Madrid, by all the top clubs, let's just say in every single league in the top five so far. He has a love for Manchester United, I have to say. And while the report said that there's a huge part to play with the likes of Wilcox in him staying, I can tell you all now, it was never an issue. He was never leaving. He's a youngster that always wanted to make himself and make his mark in the red kit. But you guys will hear that story. JJ Gabriel will give that story himself in a few weeks' time when there's a small interview to be had. Check it out. And don't tell me that your guy Mark N was not right about it. Big up to you guys. Temendeliso says, I like Gyokeres, Emi Martinez, Edson, Rios, Douglas Luiz, NDD, Vicinos, Malik Fofana to United better for next season. Guys, 20 likes. Let's smash some like, guys. Help the channel, share it around, and help it grow. Big up to the great one in the building. Of course, I think it's going to be an interesting situation. There's other players that are on the horizon of Manchester United in this current moment. As you know, there are some reports that we might be interested in signing the likes of Emi Martinez. For some fans like me, I'm not too interested. He's not really a good goalkeeper, but it's going to be interesting to see what Man United does. Vanya Milinkovic-Savic is not out of reach. Napoli are trying to wrap up an 18 million euro deal right now for that said player, but they are very, very wary that the moment the selling club makes an agreement, there is a big possibility that Man United will pounce and attempt to hijack that goalkeeper. He is appreciated by not by the manager and by the club, but unfortunately for him, the number one choice for goalkeeper is possibly going to be available this summer. And yes, I'm talking about Diego Costa. The manager has wanted him since he was at Sporting. He has been in many times conversations with this player over the past 2.5 seasons, trying to lure him into his team, and he might just have his way, as Manchester United are definitely trying to part ways with the likes of Onana, Marcus Rashford again, Garnacho, as well as Anthony, and even it's good. Let's see what happens there. The goalkeeping situation was not the best for the last 2.5 seasons. Of course, we can say what we will, and some of us may not appreciate what Onana has done. Some of us might think he needs more help in defense, but it's going to be something that left to be seen. The club needs to take care of the situation. It's a definite difficult task to be the number one at Manchester United. And to be fair, it's my honest opinion that Onana has not taken to that task at all in a way that fans would have hoped. It's going to be interesting to see where Manchester United goes in that terms of direction, but also with the likes of the eye that United are said to be keeping on young Diamade, as he is in the current topic of interest between talks from Sporting and Crystal Palace. As we know, the Palace team is going to be playing in Europe next season, as they are the defending FA Cup champions 2025. Left to be seen if Sporting is going to agree the 35 to 40 million deal and terms offered by Crystal Palace for the young defender, who I would say is generational. But in my honest opinion, I think United are waiting for Sporting to agree a fee with Crystal Palace so they can come in and swoop that player off of his feet and bring him to Manchester United. There are two defenders who have left and parted ways with Manchester United. One takes up a new role in the club as as a coach and possible advisor for youth football, and I'm talking about Johnny Evans. While the other is moving on to another club, and I'm talking about Victor Lindelof. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, guys. Reports have suggested, and I think this is going to be a possibility, that United will look to sign the likes of Emi Martinez, Edson, Rios, Douglas Luiz, NDD, Vicinos, Malik Fofana to United better for next season. Guys, 20 likes. Let's smash some like, guys. Help the channel, share it around, and help it grow. Big up to the great one in the building. Of course, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Reports have suggested have suggested that after we buy Gyökeres, we will sign four more players. What do you think this is? I think that's a little bit exaggerated, to be honest. I'm not too sure if we have the funding to sign those players. Even if we sell amazingly well, I think we would still come up short in terms of timing, because as you know, we are going to have to negotiate with a lot of clubs in terms of will they be willing to accept money down and money over the next 2, 3, or 4 seasons based on the contract that we award to the player that we're purchasing. And this is where it makes these deals difficult. Man United does not have the liquid cash to spend right now. We're paying in parts. It's basically like hire purchase. And not every single club is going to be thrilled to have to take these sorts of deals. So this is where the difficulty lies. Of course, the transfer window is a bit short, and it will be seen if Man United can negotiate 6, 7 deals in the next 6 weeks. You know what I mean, guys? So that's where it's going to be difficult. Of course, we might be paying over the odds for some of these players based on the fact that we want to pay in terms. I think we spent at least 20 million over the odds on Matthias Cunha to get that deal wrapped up. It's probably going to be 10 to 15 million over the odds for Mbeumo also to get that deal done. But I think the Victor Gyokeres deal is the one deal where we will pay cash up front. If you look at our current FFP, we have spent 20 million from our allotted 140 million headroom. The Mbeumo deal will see us another 20 million minus on that headroom, take us to 100 million. And I think we're going to pay 64 million pounds cold hard cash up front for the striker. I don't think that the gentleman's agreement had any inclusion or any sort of room for payment on terms. So that's where I think we're going to hit that hurdle and stumble. And this is where I think the struggle is going to come in our transfer window. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, we did spend. I think we spent over the odds on Cunha, bro. Like, it's just my honest opinion. I don't think anyone thinks he's worth anything more than 40 million. In reality, in terms of what he did this season. In my honest opinion, I think we are 20 million over the odds. In my honest opinion, I think we're 15 million over the odds on Mbeumo if we sign him for a 70 million deal. It's opinions, guys. This is how you feel. I don't know what kind of caliber you're talking about. This is the first time he's ever had a season where he's contributed more than 20 goals in the Premier League. I don't know. I think Ilanga contributes more consistently than him, to be honest. In my opinion, I don't know if I can't say who had a better season, but I can tell you what, in my honest opinion, on total goals and assists, Garnacho had a better season, but that's because we played a longer season. So he's never played a season with more than 40 games in it, to be honest, bro. So it's weird for you to say that, he's had a better season. He's been playing for a team that gets knocked out of every cup in the first or second round of domestic cups. So in my honest opinion, when he comes to United, Cunha still probably is going to struggle to play a 60-game season. No one knows for sure if he's going to do it perfectly the first time around. You know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. I think we might sign 4 to 5. You know what I mean? Maybe 6. I don't know, but we've only signed one so far, and a month has gone already in the transfer window, to be honest. So it's a difficult one. Manchester United is really going to have to crank up what they are doing in order for all of this drama to happen. You know what I mean? Gonna take 6 weeks to sign, take the other 6 weeks. I'm telling you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, this is the one deal I thought is gonna take till the end of the window to be signed. I've said this many times. I think this Gyokeres deal is gonna take a long, long time, and we're gonna get him at the end. But at the same time, if we had Champions League and we had all that money coming from winning the Europa League, it could have been a deal that was done in the first couple days of the window opening. You know, it is what it is. The circumstances are what they are. It's a difficult situation. Cunha is the truth. Marken refuses to see it. I mean, bro, like, I don't disagree with you guys. You guys said he's the truth. I'm not convinced. He has to convince me. I think it's only fair that he convinces me this season. And if he doesn't, then we will have questions. And we will have questions for all of you as well. Big up to Frankie in the building. You know what I mean? Now, guys, Nico Paz just entered the Inter Milan. How should I put it? He's entered their radar. We thought all thoughts were that Inter Milan would be posting a bid for Rasmus Højlund, but they now have focused their attentions on Nico Paz of Como, and it looks like the deal for Rasmus is off. And this is a kind of a drag because Man United needs the money. We need all that we can do this summer to fix this team and get ourselves in a situation and make sure that this manager has all the tools possibly he can use to go forward and have a better season next season. You know what I mean? Possibly. And now I wanted to bring some things into show, guys. I don't know if it's gonna interest everyone. It's a little bit, more on the international footballing side of things. And I also wanted to bring this in because as a Manchester United fan, I'm conflicted. I am conflicted because this week, Borussia Dortmund came to Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, they did have how could I put it, a half Trini in their ranks as Jadon Sancho. But Manchester United, who had a treble winning Trini, one of the best players in the team, had the top score in that season, but we won the treble, Dwight York, and we don't have a Man United academy in the Caribbean to this day. That is wild. That is wild, guys. And the reason why I brought this into the show, guys, is because when we are a club, we are such a big club. And I would think that all our best players, we would have academy in those countries because we'd want to facilitate the growth and development of talent who grew up with heroes that played for our club as well. And it has not been the past. But Borussia Dortmund is getting ready to launch their academy in Trinidad and Tobago. It will be launching on the 20 on the 27th of July 2025. And of course, guys, the aim is to bridge the gap of European football standards with the Caribbean talent, offering elite level coaching to players and development. And it will integrate the Borussia Dortmund training systems that have developed the likes of, of course, all these talented players such as Jadon Sancho and as well. You know what I mean? There's going to be a one-day under 17 international tournament that's going to be held on the day when the all the senior executives of Borussia Dortmund are in Trinidad and Tobago to launch this said academy, and they will be there to look to be also they will be looking at some young talent and possibly 1 to 10 Trinidadian youngsters or youngsters who participate in this under 17 Challenge Cup might find themselves with a scholarship to go and apply their trade at Borussia Dortmund in Deutschland. It's going to be interesting to see when this happens. Of course, ahead of this qualifier, it's well known that they are trying to find the next Marco Reus, the next Jude Bellingham, the next Mario Götze, the next Jadon Sancho, possibly the next Erling Haaland, or even Yusuf Moukoko. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And I know you guys might be mad, but I have to talk about Trini sometimes. It's my team. It's a World Cup year, guys. World Cup qualifications is upon us in every single different conference. United players, many of them are going to be going on international break to play for the qualifications for their different various national teams. And of course, we are going to be covering it right here on this channel, bringing it all to you all. Big up. When he sees Gyokeres to stop when he sees Gyokeres, if is holding the stop down, that's when Rasmus Højlund will leave, or he will leave if we sign a new striker. What? Does that even make sense what you're saying there, bro? I don't think that makes sense what you're saying. You need to rephrase that, bro. Not the same manager. So Cunha don't need a season under PL football. United, he should be hitting the ground running. I hope so, Ray Carl. To be honest, this is his first season in the Prem where he's had more than 20 goal contributions. So it will be interesting to see if he can actually repeat that and exceed that at Manchester United, where there's actually pressure and that demand for success. You know what I'm saying? Gittins to Chelsea's here we go. Big up to Chelsea signing young Gittins, a very interesting talent. I've been watching this young man for the last 2.5 seasons, and I think he's a right talent. Would have loved to have him at Manchester United. He's very, very, very dangerous off the left. I think he's better than what we have. but we signed Dorgu. So it is interesting to see what happens there. Rasmus Højlund doesn't suit any system, says the great one. Yeah, probably, probably could be not. MU biggest club in the world, no success for donkey years, but top of the world 100%. Personally, I don't think so. Greenwood, Rashford, and Sancho from the Caribbean. There are more players from the Caribbean, bro. Lots of them. You know what I mean? I mean, the youngster from Chelsea, what's his name? Called Palmer. He's from St. Kitts. Let's not forget. Lots of them. Big up to all those smashing the lights. Keep smashing them. What Hayden Pro is saying when he sees that Gyökeres is holding the starting spot. Why would Rasmus Højlund leave? I don't think that makes sense. Rasmus Højlund was brought to Manchester United as as a young player to develop. He's supposed to have 3 seasons basic to develop, is what the club has said when they signed the player. He was always supposed to have a senior striker ahead of him. I think it was a big mistake by the club to force him into a starting role last season. I think it was even an even bigger mistake or naivety of the manager to play him consistently when he was in such terrible form. I think that was one of the reasons his development was stunted and ruined. I think that also, made him a target, an easy target for fans to criticize, while it gave the man a little bit of respite for his lack of actual managing of the players that he had in total, in my honest opinion. You know what I mean? I don't think this is something that you can really say and think that it makes total sense. I don't think Rasmus Højlund expected to be starting last season, nor do I think he was demanding a starting role in the team. For all intents and purposes, what we've always been told by the club and what has been agreed on by the player that he came to develop. So if the club signs a senior striker, it's not like I'm going to say Chido Obi Martin is going to kick up first and Rasmus is going to kick up first, because they both been told that they would be given a chance. You know what I mean? Neither of them were told that they're going to be the starting guy for Manchester United. I don't think we've seen any reports where either one of those players were promised to be the starter. It's interesting. You know what I mean? Bring me Gyokeres. Rasmus can get pity minutes when we're 3 men up. He should have been getting pity minutes to begin with this season as well. The funny thing with this is that when Ahmad was getting the same pity minutes coming into, breaking into the team a season and a half ago, everyone was like, sack the manager. He should be starting every game. And in that season, all he did was score 1 goal. It's weird. You know what I mean? It's weird. Rasmus Højlund doesn't suit the system, bro. Eye test backs this up. I mean, from what I can tell you, bro, based on what I've seen, none of our youth players last season who were at the shining lights of the season before, none of them suit the system that we're playing right now. None of them. I think the manager is the one that makes it that way. In my honest opinion, I don't think any of the youngsters look great this season. I don't think any of them really turned up other levels and more levels. You know what I mean? Yeah, they developed. Ahmad has been developing for like 5 or 6 years now. 6 years with this season that just finished, to be honest. I mean, we signed him in 2019, January for 30 million pounds. He's still been developing over the last 6 years. Exactly, Jack Reacher. I don't know. It's a weird one. We can say, Ahmad doesn't fit the system. Garnacho doesn't fit the system. Where is Ahmad going to play actually when we sign him, Bremo? It's a weird one. You know what I mean? I don't exactly great one. I mean, everyone is talking about who's gonna displace Gyokeres. If Gyokeres comes into the team, he's gonna be the main and only striker. Jonathan Xerxes, he's not really a striker. You know what I mean? He's a forward, but he's not that striker. I don't think he's gonna play backup to Gyökeres, in my honest opinion. I think his stylistic play is way too different in order for him to be the backup striker. Because then, if he goes into striker when Gyökeres comes out, the team is gonna have to play a different way. It's not gonna be a similar stylistic approach. I think if granted that Højlund had a shit season last season. It was utter garbage. In total, in all comps, he had more goals than Liam Delap, if I'm not mistaken, who only had 12 goals last season. But it is interesting, guys. All the discussions and all the talks. I don't think Joshua is a center forward as well, but he's definitely gonna be a player that could play between the 10, And that false nine rule, in my opinion, let's see how it goes. I think this is where we ruined Martial, trying to play him as a winger, as a false nine, all these, you know, it's really nice to have players who can play multiple positions across the front line. But, there's a saying where I come from, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. You know what I mean? And when a manager keeps talking about players who's jacks of all trades, but they aren't a master of any, and Phil Foden is the best example of that. He's he's a jack of all trades at Man City, but he's not a master. He doesn't hold down a 10. He doesn't hold down the wing. He doesn't hold down the forward role. If that's what these managers want and claim is amazing, I mean, football is going to shit. You know what I mean? He's going to be shit. Football is shit because all these players who have so many different can play so many positions. Has any one of them ever been great? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Phil Foden is shit for England. He is shit half the season for Man City as well. It's weird. I don't even think Messi would fit our system either, bro. Like, I'm being so real. It's a weird one. Gyokeres is a beast, a striker. Hopefully he finds his feet in England. I think he's has the experience now that he didn't have a few years ago when he was first here playing at Brighton, and I think he will definitely do well. But I don't think Xerxes, you can have Xerxes play backup striker and backup 10. I don't think that makes sense. I think that's delusional, in my honest opinion. Because when you think about it like that, we should have two players dedicated to being actual strikers, like a striker and the backup who only plays a striker. Because realistically, guys, looking at it from a perspective where this sudden shift to we need players who are dynamic, who can play multiple positions. I mean, look at Dorgu. He can play left wing back, he can play right wing back, but he's actually shit at left wing back. Shit, he's garbage there. You know what I mean? Of course I expect him to develop and go on to become a much better player. But in all his career so far, he's better off the right than playing off the left. So it's like we bought him to play him off the right, really, but we were playing him off the left. It's a conundrum because no one can tell me that this manager in what he was doing this season didn't actually, make some players worse off than they should have been, in my honest opinion, because he played players, he overplayed players and caused injuries, likes of Dalot and stuff like that. He's been playing players off the left who are better on the right. We all know this. Dogu, Dalot, you know what I mean? He's using too many square pegs in wrong holes. And maybe this season is the season for him to make all those mistakes, but he cannot be allowed to do these things next season because it's going to be terrible. You know what I mean? It makes no sense. We need consistency, but the manager has to provide consistency. Yeah, but it's the same thing. You don't give Rasmus Højlund this excuse, bro. So therefore, why are you using it for Dorgu? Rasmus Højlund was not the main guy. He was not brought here to be the main guy when we signed him in 2024-25 season. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with Dorgu, but if you look at Dorgu and you rank Dorgu as a player that you're scouting, he does not even stack up to what we had in the academy, bro. I don't know if everyone is thinking about this. Okay, we signed him, so we have to give him time. But what we had in our academy is better than that guy. You know what I mean? It's not like what we had in our academy was better than Rasmus Højlund outright. But I wouldn't be shocked if Diego Leone or Amas benches Dorgu off the left next season. I wouldn't be shocked because based on what we've seen an equally poor performance from a player that we spent 40 million pounds on as we've seen from Rasmus last season. The only difference was the season before, Rasmus actually played well. Dorgu performed equally as terrible in Lecce last season. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Bro, Cheeto is not better than Rasmus, bro. I don't know why you're even talking this nonsense. It's like you saying Eden Haven is better than Lissandro Martinez, bro. That's mad. That's crazy. You know what I mean? That is crazy. Rasmus Højlund has more Premier League goals than Liam Delap, bro. It's weird. He scored against bigger teams than Liam Delap. And the funny thing is, I quicker would think that his performances and the fact that he's regressed is on our manager more than it's on the player, because our manager failed to get the best out of him. Yeah, like most of the other youngsters in the team this season, our manager failed to get the best out of those players. I can't even say Cheeto is a better player because he could never really get a shot off for Man United. The only time he got shot off was playing against the team in China. You know what I'm saying? At least when he played for the senior team. So it's a weird one that you would say that Cheeto is better than him. Heaven is not better than Martinez, bro. Anyway, I have another stuff to bring into the picture that I wanted to talk about as well before I finish off on Manchester United. Yo, Cheeto doesn't even suit the way we want to play, bro. No one suits the way this manager wants to play, apparently, bro. Yeah? Because none of the youngsters played, none of them improved this season. None of them. From Ahmad straight to Garnacho, straight to Kobe, even all of them regressed. All of them regressed. You know what I'm saying? All of them. In some way, shape, or form, they all regressed. It's a weird one. I don't think we could be. I think we have to look at this manager with a little bit more scrutiny next season. I think he needs to change some of the methods. I don't think his methods were successful at all this season. And the results show just that. I don't see it. I don't see it, guys. You know what I mean? But anyway, I wanted to talk about something that, this might be more on Trinidad directly than in general, but, there has been some talks coming in, what I mean, and about the TTFA and some bad decisions that they have made. And for those of you who watch me, I'm a soca warrior. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I love my country and my football team. But there are lots of things that are making it difficult for Trinidad football to advance, and one of those things is a grandfather law. And the grandfather law says that if a person shall not become a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago if at the time of his birth neither of his parents is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and this now is a bit difficult because if I have kids and one of my kids has a kid, that means, and that kid was not born in Trinidad and Tobago, then that means he won't be training, basically. And I think that's foolish because I feel like if my grandchild is my grandchild, he should be able to become a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago because I am his grandfather. And of course, this is something that needs to be contested. And the Minister of Sport in Trinidad and Tobago, David Nackett, has been saying that they have not been officially approached by the TTFA or anyone concerning the immigration. Just that, and all the information that they have on this topic is what they've heard on social media and over the news. But a lot of Trinidadians have heard this news, and I think they have felt that the new president of the TTFA, who has only been there for a year, half of this year, 6 months of which has been spent dealing with the fact that the country was going through a change in government, as we had 3 months where everything shuts down and there's promotion for new elections in the country, and then the new elections are held 3 months later, and then it takes like about 1 to 3 months for the new ministers and all the different things to settle themselves into their ministries and work to resume. And I think a lot of Trinis are thinking, well, the new president, the new regime of the TTFA, who has shown a lot of improvement before based on what we've seen over the last year in TNT football from the previous regimes that we had. I think they're being a little bit dramatic. I think some of them are just going on and trying to, make this assessment based on the fact that yes, he did make promises while he was running for office, and now that he's in office, it seems like he's not doing enough. But what I can say is that patience, young grasshoppers. Just like a lot of us are saying, Man United fans are forcing ourselves to have patience with Ruben Amorim through a year where he coached 31 Premier League games and he could not win more than 9. We're still telling ourselves that with the right players, he will be better next season. And I think this is the message or something similar that Trinidadians should be adopting with Dwight York and this new TTFA. It's a new structure in our football. It's a new coach that brings a progressive approach to football. He has actually the know-how to compete at this level. He has competed at the highest level and was exceptional at it, won many trophies, is a legend of the game in Europe. And I think this is the right step that Trinidad and Tobago football is making. And, I think everyone needs to, take a time, back up a step and allow these things to happen because right now, Trinidad is on the verge of World Cup qualification. We have 3 games left to play against Jamaica, Curacao, and the likes of Bermuda. Now, I would say that Bermuda is not really tough competition. It would be easy 3 points, as if Man United were facing the likes of Fulham or a Burnley, in my honest opinion. But when it comes to facing the likes of Curacao, who I would say is more like a Brighton of nowadays in the CONCACAF region, and then Jamaica, who I would say now is one of the powerhouses because of the last 4 years, their heavy investment into their sports has really, really improved their team. And also, they have made changes to their laws. And now, Mason Greenwood, generational talent from Manchester United, is going to be featuring in CONCACAF for the first time as Jamaica gets ready to take on the final group stages for the World Cup qualification themselves. Hopefully, he does not appear in that game versus Trinidad and Tobago. I hope for that because I think we would lose if that's the case. But if Trinidad could secure a draw or victory against Jamaica, I think it puts us in the driver's seat to qualify because a draw would also, I think it would throw Jamaica off and maybe see Trinidad get better results and more goals and win that group, sending Jamaica into the round robin competition of the best third place qualifiers of all regions. And it's going to be interesting because guess what? That we are going to be covering that 8 team round as well, who will be competing from competitive regions such as CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, Africa, Asia, and Oceania for the final 2 World Cup spots. We will be covering that right here on this channel, guys. So stay tuned for that. No one suits the style, guys. No one. Big up. Rasmus Højlund makes Cheeto look like a baller. Cheeto doesn't even make himself look like a baller in some games, guys, in my honest opinion. I mean, if we're only going to say a striker is talented because he makes a good run or the ball comes to him in a situation like that in a few games, then I don't know what we're doing. But in terms of what I can say is that when he plays in the academy, he's definitely showing his quality. He has struggled all last season playing in the under 21s, and he has struggled a lot playing in the first team when he did have opportunities in the first team as well. His shots aren't at the level of the senior level yet, in my honest opinion. When you talk about Cheeto, he doesn't have that shot power in him yet. Some of his shots are more like placements, and then they're way too soft. It's something that needs to be developed. I think he's being rushed way too soon into the first team, and I think a lot of people are just so a little bit PTSD when it comes to Rasmus Højlund. They didn't a youngster who came into the team 1 season before had 16 goals and in total contributions last season, one of the top scorers in the Champions League last season, and then for him to be having a poor season in the second season and everyone to write him off, I shudder to think what fans would do to Chido Obi Martin next year if he doesn't have any good games. Because the same fans would tell me that no, they see this amazing in Chido, but if next season he doesn't perform well, Chido's probably going to receive all the criticism that you guys are criticizing Højlund. It's a weird one. A weird one. Big up to Michael Kelly in the building. Thank you so much for subscribing as well. Thank you. Big up to you, bro. In 3 seasons, Cheeto will be pushing to start for Denmark. He might be, but in 3 seasons, Rasmus Højlund could be at his best. He could finally reach the level of development that he's supposed to be getting. So I think you're a little bit, I think that's a little bit one-sided, bro. It should be. Fulham should be an easy 3 points. I don't think anyone is going to disagree with me when it comes to that. In terms of who Man United are and who Fulham are, it should be an easy 3 points for Man United. Not that it will be. Ability does, though. He's not ready to play 1v1 at wing back in this league. 100%. 100%, bro. 100% on that one. Firefox crashed. Wow. Big up in the building. I don't people are I don't think people are talking. What is Ricard saying here? Let's see. I don't think people are taking into the style of the of United playing because 3 points, what? Three CFs all bad at the same time. I never saw that in a United in years. Yeah, bro. Yeah, it was difficult. We spent 15 million too much. Yeah, probably. What Onana fault again? I'd great one. I mean, guys, don't be mad. So just like me, I think Irfan thinks we spent a bit much on Cunha and a bit much on Mbeumo. I think he says 20 million too much for Mbeumo, 15 million too much for Cunha. I was the opposite. I thought it was more for Cunha and a little bit, I thought it was opposite. I thought it was 20 too much for Cunha and 10 or 15 too much for Mbeumo. But whether or not you prefer Mbeumo over Cunha, either way, you can have this opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't too excited with the signing of Cunha, and I would say that honestly. Of course, I will put my hands up if he establishes himself as one of the best players in Man United next season. I will put my hands up and say I was wrong. Yeah. But at the same time, I really don't know how to feel about a deal like that from a player coming from a club like Wolves where there's no expectation to win, there's no pressure to win every game, there's no pressure to perform. It's a different thing, it's a different theme, it's a different time. They don't have the amount of fans in the stadium as well. They don't get the same attention from the media as a Man United. Fans are overly critical, to be honest. And it could be a situation where he could struggle. You know what I mean? There are also reports that Anthony might be given a second chance in the team to help facilitate, Cunha as well. Cunha, there are reports that Cunha and Anthony are best friends, and Cunha would like to, his fellow Brazilian to play in the team with him next season. But it's left to be seen. The club has made their decisions, and we will see what has they decided by the end of this window. Jack Reacher, are you NN in disguise? I can tell you for sure that he's not NN in disguise. NN comes in as NN always. Cunha scores again. I mean, he only had 21 goals last season, you know what I mean? So it's like, let's see if that happens in a Man United shirt, bro. You know what I mean? I don't think I will be saying sorry, but if I have to, I will. It's like what you guys said to me about Ahmad last season, and I told you that Garnacho was going to have more goals and assists than him this season again, and you guys said no. And so guess what? Garnacho has more goals and assists than Ahmad this season, and great one. He is not doing. Is Great One gonna do a forfeit for this? Because he did bet me at the beginning of the season that Ahmad is gonna have more GA than Garnacho, but Ahmad didn't. Anyways, we'll see what Great One says. You know what I mean? I don't rate Onana, bro. Like, I've never rated Onana. I'll be honest, I wanted De Gea to stay. Of course, De Gea does make mistakes, but I think De Gea as a shot stopper, there's not much better keepers in the world than this guy. Not many, I should say. But interestingly enough, guys, Man United in search for a keeper. Vanya Milinkovic-Savic. Remember the name. He is, of course, the subject of the current negotiations between Napoli and his parent club right now with a fee of 18 million pounds. Set to be the official bid and deal talk in terms of price. I think it's euros, not pounds. My bad. Euros, not pounds. But Man United are said to be waiting for confirmation, waiting for a deal to be struck between both clubs before entering late into the race. Hopefully, excuses from Great One are gonna come in, on cue, guys. Look at the excuses there. He's gonna blame it on injuries. You said what you said before the season began. If Ganacho was injured for 3 months, I would have to take my losses, bro, regardless of what happened. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, again, you know what I mean? No nuts. He's our favorite Chelsea fan. You know what I mean? He comes in and he talks about Chelsea. He loves his Sancholini. I don't know why. I think he's going to cry because Chelsea didn't buy Sancholini for him. He loved him so much at the beginning of last season. I shudder to think how he feels at the end of the season since Sancho is not being signed to the club. But big up to No Nuts in the building. I think he's in the background watching somewhere. You know what I mean? But interesting news. Let's see what happens next season, guys. A lot of players might have had poor performances. A lot of players, who knows, might have better performances. It's one game a week next season, guys. We don't have 2 games a week. You know, I think a lot of players. Can you imagine Bruno playing 1 game a week next season? Zirkzee, 1 game a week. Delo, 1 game a week. I think each and every one of our players will actually give a 30% increase in performance and energy for each and every game. There will be extreme competition for spaces, as you know, like I said, we're only going to have domestic competitions. And of course, Man United are still interested in bringing in some signings. There are other players being looked at. You know, I cannot say go without saying that the likes of Diego Costa possibly coming in as our new goalkeeper will not excite me and excite the rest of you, because our Man United boss Ruben Amorim has been speaking to this player over the course of 2.5 seasons now, while he was still at Sporting, trying to secure his services for there. But now at Man United, he is seemingly very intent on bringing the player over into his team, finally, as he been hoping for a long time now. It's left to be seen if Man United will do a deal of that nature, because as I was saying to you guys, you know, I don't know about Man United signing 6 to 7 players this transfer window. You know, we do have 140 million headroom in the FFP side. You know, it's now 121 million after we paid 20 million pounds down this season for Matthias Cunha. Of course, the rest of his payments will be spread across the next 5 seasons. But the same situation is set to occur with Brian Mbeumo, whose deal, like I was telling everyone, would be 65 million pounds plus add-ons and not 63 million pounds like everyone else were reporting. I don't think that was ever going to be a possibility. And the reason why I said that is because Brentford knew Man United wants to pay on terms. Brentford knew if they're going to sell the player, they want to get exactly what they expect for the player. And Brentford knew that Man United had no sort of negotiating power, since they want to pay on terms. So all this talk about trying and trying, eventually they were always going to have to pay the 65 million demand of Brentford, and Man United are set to prepare and prepared to make this payment. I think a lot of reports were just trying to make it sound better than it is. We are going to be paying over the odds for many players this summer, because not because of the players, but because Man United wants to pay on terms. They want to pay a percentage down and pay the rest over each year as their solution to staying within FFP relegations. Now, for Victor Gyokeres, this means a positive for Man United, because with the recent talks and with the recent situations, it puts Man United in the driver's seat to sign Victor Gyokeres. I don't know how this happened, guys. It was always my expectation to sign Victor Gyokeres coming to the end of the window, of this transfer window, never in the beginning. And I told you guys this from in advance. The only how we would sign all these players early if we won the Europa League, and we did not achieve that target. Now, with the likes, what has happened recently is that Victor Gyokeres has given the green light to Man United in terms of what he expects for personal terms, agreeing to the offer made by Man United verbally thus far, which make things very easy now. Man United can go and negotiate that gentleman's agreement of 64 million pounds, which I am assuming, and I kind of have an inclination that they will have to pay in full and upfront, and will not be able to pay on terms unless they pay more money on top of that 64 million pounds. We will see if that is to happen, guys. But like I said, guys, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They have to be creative, and it's going to be a weird one. The MU freedom fighter, that one, the one and only Sakcho. Yeah, bro. But you know what? Because of the likes of Sakcho, I have Borussia Dortmund Academy in Trinidad and Tobago now. I'm very happy about that, guys. I cannot tell you how much I am happy about that. I don't know if you guys heard before when I was talking about it, but the Borussia Dortmund Academy in Trinidad and Tobago launches on the 25th of July 2005, on the 17th of July, actually, 2005, where all the senior executives and a few of their players will arrive in Trinidad and Tobago. They will also have a one-day tournament in the country for under 17s that will allow them to, look at some of the talent that's on offer. There's also going to be a situation where a few of this talent will be given a chance to train at the Borussia Dortmund Academy in Deutschland. From that, whoever wins the tournament, players and scouts will be there to be looking on. It's going to be very interesting, and I think this improves, and this is a game changer for the CONCACAF region. As you know, I've always talked about the talent and how intricate the links are with Trinidad and Tobago and the English Premier League. We're the smallest country in the Caribbean, the smallest island, to be fair, in the south, but we've had the most players represented in the Premier League to date than a Jamaica, who is 8 to 9 times the size of Trinidad and Tobago and has 5 times the population. It's an interesting stat, guys. Football heritage is strong in the region, and it looks to be improving. And I put this out there to Manchester United, my club, my dream, my favorite place to be. Guys, what are you doing? Why is Borussia Dortmund opening an academy in the Caribbean when Dwight York won a treble for us? Can you guys, can Manchester United please make some kind of inroads into the situation? Get yourselves a presence in the Caribbean. The talent is deep. There's so many Jamaican talents and other talents. Marcus Rashford is actually from, the Caribbean, Grenada, I believe. There's other players, Cole Palmer, St. Kitts. Interesting talents all over the place. You know what I mean? Guys, don't forget to smash a like on the stream. 2025, bro. The 25th, the 17th of July, 2025 is when the thing opens. Rira says Cunha and Mbeumo arrives, improves your goal difference. Onana tax doesn't change much. Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. 100%. That doesn't change much. You can't make a man what? Take time out of his day to do this stream and not like the video. Big up Hayden Pro. Manchester United, only Manchester United. Yeah, a great one can't be bothered with others. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Guys, what would be interesting is to hear your views and your thoughts on the current signings at Manchester United. Of course, there's only one signing confirmed to date, Matthias Cunha. Of course, we're in with a shout for Mbeumo. You should be getting an update on that in the next 24 hours. I would assume that on Tuesday you could hear a deal done, possibly. You know what I mean? That's just my honest opinion, because we Manchester United has set a medical date for the player, so I don't think there's going to be any mishaps there. Of course, Gyökeres deal edging closer is very good for Manchester United in general. I think it's going to take us further. If we can sign this front three, I think that changes everything next season. I would be certainly more excited going into next season to see what we can do. Of course, we do need a signing in the centre back area, in my honest opinion. Diego Leone is coming in, but I don't know, guys. I think we need a left back. I know I was hoping Manchester United would go to Rennes and get, the young Adrian Truffert, but he has been signed by Bournemouth as their replacement for Milos Kerkez, and I don't want to hear anyone telling me the Bournemouth left back is amazing, because when I told men about Adrian Truffert, no one listened to Mark N. You know what I mean? Maybe I should become the new scout at Man United, because these guys, either they don't have the cojones to scout, or they don't know how to convince the club to sign these talents, because I can't see us signing a guy for 30 million that's not even half as good as what Bournemouth just signed for 13 million pounds. 30 million pounds for Dorgu, 13 for Adrian Truffert. And I think Adrian Truffert is light years better than Dorgu, bro. Light years. I think he's 10 times better than Dorgu will ever be. But that's just me. Rashford and Garnacho, as well as the likes of one or two other players, have forced Man United into a situation. As I close, I will give you this little bit of a note that Man United will be, considering spending millions to force the exits of those four players. Now, I said before that there is some rumors that Anthony might be given one more season chance at Man United. This is not only because of rumors, this is also because of advice from Edwin van der Sar, as well as based on how he performed at Real Betis and the system we play, as well as the fact that our new signing, Matthias Cunha, is very good friends with him and has reported that they link up very well on the field in their performance. So it will be left to be seen what is done in that direction. But however, on the other side of things, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, as well as Alejandro Garnacho, they will be moving on this summer by hook or by crook. Even if the club has to pay their contracts off, they will be removed this summer. And that is the report. This is the update for Manchester United and their transfer window so far this summer. What I can tell you, what is really, there so far. You know what I'm saying, guys? I know I haven't been doing a lot of streams, but a lot of you guys have said to me you don't want to hear these nothing stories. So I'm not trying to bring you nothing stories. I try to bring you the stories as they are. What is progressive, what is not. There's no point in talking Monday, Tuesday, and Mbeumo is not signed, deal delayed, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that would bore you guys, but you know what I mean. We can talk about other things. Drop in the comments anything you want to know about, guys. If you guys want me to do a little bit of, compilation streams, or streams that talk about a player and how they can improve Manchester United if we sign him, let me know in the community postings or in the end of these each streams. I do read all the comments. It's always amazing to hear from you guys. If not for you guys, I would not have this channel. I'm being honest, without your support, I would not be here. Big up to each and every one of you joining. Weira is coming in saying Rashford and Garnacho isn't benefiting squad depth. They're just ruin Amad Diallo integration into the squad, even when with Anthony sold. To be honest, I don't think anyone but Ahmad could ruin his own integration into the team. He's a young player. Of course, he has some, he makes some good decisions and he makes some bad ones. I would say some bad ones would be taking off your shirt after scoring the winning goal against Liverpool, knowing that you were on a yellow card previously. Getting a second yellow that makes you unavailable for selection under the manager for the next couple games. Of course, you have to be punished as a young player, so you would miss a game as well. Because I think there are some ways where he makes bad decisions, but I think overall, as a young player developing the team, the quality that he has, if he develops his decision making much better, and I would say his ability to deliver the pass into the final third, and vision, I think Ahmad is definitely going to be one of the best players we have in the squad, but he needs to improve. You know what I mean? August is very far away as well. Anthony is going first out of the door. I actually don't think so. I think Marcus Rashford and Mason Mount will be sold before Anthony. There are some reports that Bayern Munich is heavily interested in Mason Mount, as well as one or two other German sides. And of course, that might be a shock sale that no one was looking for. How close is Rashford to being a free agent? Well, 30 million. I think it's around 30 million pounds, bro. To be being a free agent, or maybe because we gave him a contract that he received somewhere in the region of 18.9 million pounds a season. I think it's 18.9 or 23 million pounds a season. It's a lot of money. We're gonna have to pay off half of those wages just in order to break his contract. It's going to be a difficult one. I explained the 30% situation with Anthony. I think a lot of people reporting this story are not being honest with fans. Anthony has requested a 30% reduction in his wages. That is not only in the benefit of Real Betis, guys. This is in general, because he was thinking to himself he had not performed at Man United and he wanted to give back to the club. He wanted to earn his position back. So this is one of the things that was in the negotiation with his agent and the club before he left for Betis. That this could the possibility that he'd be willing to accept next season. Of course, there has been some talks lately after his performances and during this summer so far that could change his directions. It is left to be seen. But like I tell you, there has been some advice to the club by Edwin van der Sar. You might not take my word for it, but like I'm saying, it is something that the club is definitely paying attention to. Radcliffe will pay off Rashford's contract. Wow, that's a rebuild in the right direction. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to be Radcliffe, but like I said, you know what I mean? This is something that has been reported over the last couple of days that the club is open, to paying off the contracts of certain players like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford to make sure and get them out of the club. Yeah, possibly, possibly. I also think the situation with Anthony was basically the fact that he was going through that emotional situation with the whole case going on for 9 months. I don't think any player could be expected to perform under those circumstances. You know what I mean? Especially when, he's not one of the fan favorites at that time as well. What type of striker is Amorim looking for as in attributes? It's interesting. I know he wants a striker that is similar to Gyokeres. Liam Delap does not fit that bill. I would say the closest person to fit in that bill actually would be Rasmus Højlund from 23-24 season. But yeah, he was definitely not that Rasmus Højlund last season. He was like 10 times shitter. You know what I mean? And doesn't look like he fits no season. So it's going to be interesting. I don't hate Ahmad. I just don't think he's I don't overrate him like most people do. Like some people don't criticize the fact that he is the player in our team that loses the ball the most in the attacking third, and he creates the least one-on-one attacking opportunities for himself in front of goal when he dribbles with the ball the most of any of our attacking players. I just think people say he's the best, the best, the best, but they don't criticize him. If they did, they would probably criticize him more than Garnacho. I mean, he's 3 years older. He's had he's had 6 seasons to develop at the club. He's had 3 loan spells, and he kind of makes similar decisions to Garnacho in terms of contributing to the team or self goal. Because if you expect a player of his caliber and quality to get more chances to create more chances for the striker, but he doesn't. He creates the least chances for Man United strikers of any player in the attacking third, and that was stats off based off last season. You know what I mean? So it's weird one. It's a weird one. But that does one season does not define a player, in my honest opinion. I think, a second season, I think next season he probably will be plenty better than he was last season. I think he will definitely show that in terms of all things considered, especially with the fact that the team would have less time, recuperating and more time to actually train in patterns and in stuff like that for what the new manager wants. You know what I mean? Yeah, I telling you guys, like, people don't understand. If all the players are underperforming, it's definitely the manager, it's not the players. So when the manager says we are the worst Man United team in history, I think that it was partly because of his methods that our team was so poor last season. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm not taking away anything from the poor performances of players, but how many managers comes into a team and loses more games in a row that than they've won all season. It's interesting. In the same league. It's weird. It's a weird one. Yeah. I mean, the problem is Gyökeres is not a link-up striker. He's not. But the sporting team plays to the strengths of him. Plays to his strengths. So it's one of those things. Delap can hold the ball, but bro, like holding the ball is not a striker's responsibility. You know what I mean? I keep telling people this. It's the number 10's role to keep the ball. It's a number striker's role as a number 9's role to score goals. And as good as he can hold the ball up, he's not prolific at all. Liam Delap is the most unprolific striker in the last 18 months in both leagues, championship and Premier League. He in the championship, he had 5 goals in 49 games played. That's it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And that was before this season just went. Amarim would benefit from, yeah, definitely. I don't think Xerxes as a striker benefits Amarim's system, in my opinion. But I will have to see if what you're saying here. Amarim would benefit from having a Dubvik, Gyokeres, and Xerxes as striker profiles. I don't think so, bro. Dubvik, I don't think the club will sign him. He's what, 33 years old or something like that. I don't think we're gonna sign a player that old, especially when the club was saying that, their thing. But I think the best thing is to have what a senior striker and two younger strikers who are in similar mold of that senior striker. That's my honest opinion. Yeah. You have to ask yourself why the club wanted Ekitike, Delap, Gyökeres. What do they all have in common? What I can tell you is Etikite, you said to me on stream a few months ago that players from Germany struggle in the Premier League, so I can't see why the club would want Etikite when he's only had one good season in the last 4 seasons. Yeah, you know what I mean. If you want a total amount of goals and stuff that he scored as countering the amount of games, you know, let's just say over 100 games, and all he has is what, 27, 28, 28, 29, 30 goals in 100 and something games. That's less than Rasmus Højlund, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one. First Alice, then Mark. What? Yeah, probably stamp collection sites. Big up. I'm not saying Ahmad is the truth, but he ain't wasteful like Garnacho. Well, he doesn't create enough opportunities and want to get into situations to be as wasteful as Garnacho. So yeah, that's also because he doesn't get himself into the same amount of situations. He's clearly there's something Garnacho does better than him. He gets himself into one-on-one situations more than any other player in Manchester United, and that's definitely a talent, bro. In my honest opinion. Big up. Ahmad hasn't been given enough games in his specialist position. What is his specialist position, bro? He's really not a number 10, so I can't say that that's his specialist position. But it's gonna be weird. The gaffer like that skill set in his strikers, bro. He could like anything, but if he's not showing any quality, then realistically, it's like we can talk about buying all these players specifically for this manager, but this manager cannot even get a tune out of players who is not him. So if we go on what we said about all previous managers at Man United, it's really difficult, guys. It's very difficult to criticize them all on a similar level because this one manager is being handicapped. Because for all other managers, we would have said that they should be able, they have to get the best out of what they have as well. We can't just make an excuse that they only need specific players because like we always say, if that manager goes, what happens? What happens then? We're stuck with those specialist players. So it's going to be interesting. And I mean, I can't answer what they have in common because in one season out of five, Etekite has actually had assists. I can't say he links up well after one season doing that. You know what I mean? It's weird. That it's weird for you to ask for that. You know what I mean? Gyokeres gets assists. Most strikers gets assists. Liam Bralap, like I said to you, he can't even be quantified that he links up well because he doesn't. Yeah, because if he does, he would have at least 5 assists in his game. He does not. You know what I mean? So it's a weird one, bro. Because Liam Delap would be the one that makes that category you're trying to create there not happen. To be honest. Yeah, but Liam Delap doesn't have anything in common with those strikers, bro. So you're kind of making an exaggeration when Liam Delap is coming into. Delap isn't prolific, right? And he was struggling for service at Ipswich. But he used to average get the ball 5 times more than Hoyland in this season. Liam Delap is struggling for service, getting the ball 5 times more per game than Hoyland does. Oh, shudder to think what he would do at Manchester United, bro. Shudder to think how bad he would fail. You know what I mean? Yeah, but you know what I mean. You need tips to cool down. Take a hot shower, bro. Take a hot shower. You'll thank me later. You can send the stats. But Liam Delap, bro, in 3 years playing as the main man, because he was the main man at Ipswich, he was the main man on loan in the championship. He has a total of 18 goals, bro. And I think of those 18 goal contributions, I think two of them are assists. So whatever Liam Delap doing in the last 3 seasons with that contribution, it's hard to think that it's a quality that we should be looking for. In my honest opinion, I think he's only promoted because he actually is a local boy. That's my honest opinion on Liam Delap. I don't think he's worth anything. Well, I mean, after the stream is finished, Randon, but it's the only way I can actually give you a solution to getting cooled down. Because in the islands, when it's lunchtime, after lunch, and you have to take a shower, we all take a hot shower because it opens your pores and it allows you to cool down faster. You know what I mean? You can say I'm not getting it, but, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Football is about primary functions, bro. If you have players in the right players in each position, it means they're the best at their primary function. Yeah, you a goal scorer, a striker. If he's not a goal scorer or a prolific goal scorer, he should not be your striker. You hear me, bro? No one should be a striker if they're not a prolific goal scorer. Yeah, because then you're going backwards. Big up to Ray Carl Brown giving 5 MUFC memberships to end the stream. What a lad. What a brother in arms. Big up to Ray Carl. And the membership has been gone out to Madhouse, Luan France, Omo Solo, Fred the Red. Big up to you guys, all those who got the memberships. Don't forget to thank Ray Carl Brown. You know what I mean? I talk about being a scout, but yeah, bro, but I would have never signed Dorgu. He's crap. You know what I mean? You can't scout the worst possible solution as a player, bring him into the club and expect to make him a talent. You know what I mean? It's making no sense. It's like scouting Liam Delap. He's the worst possible striker at his age that you can find, and then you bring him to the club expecting him to deliver in the top sense. Why would you buy someone who does not score goals to play at striker because they can carry the ball well? Makes no sense, bro. It makes no sense. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But big up to everybody watching. I hope you guys had an interesting stream. Of course, I went a little bit left and right on some topics. I could be wrong about some things. Yeah. But if we're talking strikers and we're not talking goals, we're not talking anything, bro. Because I don't think anything else matters when it comes to a striker. He's there to score goals. The end. If he's not want someone who's going to guarantee scoring us a goal, it's a waste of time, in my opinion, bro. But big up to everyone joining. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Your boy Mark Ken will bring you more updates tomorrow as we go along. I was supposed to do a forfeit stream. I think I'll do it a bit later when I get home. Yeah, I got the hot chip. Great one. I think you need to. I've been trying to figure out what's going on with KG and these guys. I told KG let's do the hot chip yesterday. I didn't get a reply. You know what I mean? But then they're gonna say they're looking for me. I don't know. I don't know. Randon, I know you're here. I know you're here. But just to give a quick recap on all that we talked about. We talked about Mbeumo. We talked about Gyokeres possibly being a deal that will be done. I can't do 20 minutes more, bro. I'm sorry. I apologize. But what I can do is do another stream tonight because I'm supposed to do a forfeit because I said Ahmad is not world class. I said Ahmad is not that great. I think he's good, very good. I think he has a lot of potential, but I don't think he's yet reached that potential. Yeah, and I have to do a forfeit for the likes of the guys on the reckless stream. So Randon, I might not be able to do 20 minutes more, but I can do a next stream later on tonight around 8 p.m. UK. I'm pretty sure I have the time to do that. Big up to Ray Carl once again and everyone watching. Thank you so much for joining me. And Randon, don't forget, take a hot shower, bro. Take a hot shower, bro. So I'm gonna have to do that forfeit later on this afternoon. I've got the chip, great one. Don't worry, it's right there. You know what I mean? We will be doing that today. I tried. I actually think Dibbling does more of the right than Ahmad in a right wing back role. You know what I mean? That's just me, from what I've seen. I think Ahmad is very good, but he's very good for 15, 20 minutes and a half. He's not one of those players that is going to be going every single time he's on the ball. He's going to be something could happen. Garnacho is that guy. I think a lot of people have this thing mixed up. When Garnacho is on the pitch, every time you give him the ball, he runs at the defenders. Ahmad doesn't do that. Yeah, Ahmad has to rest sometimes. Ahmad passes the ball backwards more than any other player in the front line. But you can check the stats if you don't believe me, you know what I mean? So, big up to all of you. Have a great one, and I'll be seeing you guys later on for my forfeit when I do that hot chip. It's gonna be fire. So don't forget to be here. Big up to all of you guys.